How can a person in depression know where to seek or what to seek with no knowledge about it?
See, when a body becomes diseased, you get to a doctor. One way of treating is probably fight the particular organism with an antibiotic, and let the medicine help you fight the infection, and you get cured. But there are many doctors who are right now not focusing on just giving an antibiotic into your body and allowing it to fight the virus or the bacteria. What they're doing is strengthening the entire immune system. They're making sure that your body is strong enough for you to fight that infection, which I feel is definitely a better way to deal with infections or disease itself, because of so many reasons. We don't need to get into that science. Similarly, if people who are listening to this or people who are depressed are able to kind of make it a practice in their lives, wise practices which I want to share, if they can make it as a practice in their lives, it is like creating a support system for their mind in order to fight depression. Just like how the doctors are working on the immune system in order to fight infection, these spiritual sadhanas or practices would be that support system that the mind gets in order to fight depression. That's what I would see people doing, because we need to kind of root it out of the consciousness, and we just can't kind of put a bandage around a wound and saying it's okay. We need to kind of take it out from the deepest realms of one's consciousness, and that needs to happen. And it would happen when they do these practices. We as a species, we have evolved as a tribe. If you're alone walking in nature, there is very little chance of you surviving in the wild. So we kind of lived in tribes, and we lived in such a way that probably every night we sat around the fire and shared stories. We shared stories of what happened to us during the day, what happened, or what animal did one encounter, or what fruit-bearing tree did they discover that particular day. That might have been the conversation which people kind of sat around the fire and they kind of shared their experience. And unfortunately, for today's lifestyle, we really don't give that time for actually being present and conversing with people or listening. And if we can make that a practice, to sit down, leave your phones away, and actually sit down and converse and listen, being totally present to what you're hearing from the others, that should be the first step. Because our body, our minds, our consciousness has evolved because of these conversations that we have had in the past. And we need to kind of consciously get back into the practice of doing that. The next is, this has to be a practice amidst people who are very intimate to you. A touch, a physical touch, a loving embrace, a hug. Scientifically, it produces oxytocin in your body. And if you have people, it could be your parents, it could be your child, it could be your partner or your grandparents, where you're able to have such an intimate relationship of like embracing, hugging, touching, holding, that is going to help you to a large extent. Then the other thing that I would definitely want people to do is to be in touch with nature. It allows the body to get into a place of harmony. And right now we have seen so much of science that nature heals. And unfortunately we have so much of nature, but we live so disconnected from nature. We don't really feel or take in being part of it. We feel ourselves so being separate from it. I know of a very young child who's like 4 years old and who was diagnosed with autism, level 2 autism. And unfortunately for most of the parents, it is about making sure that the child fits into the society at some point. So they kind of make sure that the child goes to school and, learns whatever was possible. But this child was unable to, definitely this child is not able to be part of a school environment. So what we suggested to this child was, to the parents was, let the child be. Let not your objective for the child be to be able to fit into a school and thereby assuming that the child is going to fit into the society. The parents took it in very deeply. So they were living in a city when this whole thing was happening, and then they decided to move away from the city and move to a farmland where they decided to kind of allow the child to grow. They've been in the farm for almost 2 years now. The child has been part of nature, has been part of life over there, interacting with the goats, with the cows, with the ducks, with the hens. Child has calmed down a lot. All the tantrums have disappeared. The child is calmed down, physically has calmed down. The child has begun to speak. The child was not speaking until 4. Child has started to speak, is very comfortable, very happy. I'm sharing this for you to understand how important nature plays, the role the nature plays in healing one's mind and the body and the consciousness itself. It's incredible healing that happens. And to be part of nature is one important thing that I would want everybody to make it a part of their lifestyle. And even say if you're in a city and you really do not have an opportunity to be part of nature, make it a point to kind of observe the sun as it rises or observe the sun as it sets. You would slowly begin to move away from that huge wall of separation that you've constructed between you and nature and life itself, allowing you to have this experience of connection with nature. And it's incredibly healing. So it'll be good if anybody who is showing signs of depression or anybody who is depressed already, to kind of equip the mind, to give this support to the mind in order to fight depression. That's very essential. To be part of nature, to experience a friendly touch with your parents, with your siblings, or with your partner or your children. And then also to sit together and converse, to listen, to share, to feel that togetherness. That would be I would say, very important for not only people who are depressed, but it's also very important so that you don't get into depression at any point. And to have a mind that can be joyful and present, it's very essential.
How can we do that online? So we want to connect with people globally, and sometimes when you're depressed, you don't really want to talk to your mom or your sister or somebody close to you because you feel that judgment. So how can you create a community online and utilize social media as a tool rather than
a distraction
being the tool?
Yeah. So the first part of it, in terms of conversing and sharing and that experiencing togetherness, it can happen online. Just to make that person feel comfortable where they are. See, today's society, what is happening is earlier, let's look at earlier times. Earlier times, you probably compared yourself with a sibling, or you compared yourself with another person in your neighborhood or your village. You compared with your cousins. But right now, your comparison, the extent of comparison is just gone beyond your home, your relatives, your family. It's gone beyond your village, your city. It's kind of, you're comparing yourself sitting over here. Probably right now you're sitting in India, but you're comparing yourself with somebody who is in, say, Australia, or somebody who is in California. That is what social media has done. And there is a total dislike for oneself because you're constantly feeling or living with a sense of lack. Say you're comparing your achievement with somebody else. You have achieved this much, but you tend to compare with somebody else who has more than you. Or you're comparing your appearance with somebody. You're comparing your lifestyle with somebody else's lifestyle. And constantly, unfortunately, unconsciously, you tend to live in a sense of lack all the time. And that could be a very big trigger for depression itself. So if you are kind of communicating with people across the globe, it is important that to show them or to let them know that they're beautiful as they are. To kind of appreciate this unique being, to kind of appreciate this person is so important. Comparison destroys that ability to appreciate oneself. And if you're able to bring awareness to it, to show them that they are very beautiful as they are, then you're helping them.
Beautiful. Yeah, sometimes I'll message somebody I know that's depressed just to give them good energy, and they won't reply. So it's a matter of just...
When you're depressed, actually you can speak with somebody who's depressed, they kind of construct a wall around themselves because they believe very strongly there is nobody who understands them. They believe very strongly that there is nobody who is there for them. Depression itself thrives only in that thinking. If not for that thinking, that I'm alone, I'm abandoned, I don't have anybody, if not for that thinking that they have constructed around themselves, depression doesn't survive. So if a friend of yours is depressed and is not responding to you, just know that this is the thinking that is woven and that is stopping them from communicating back to you. But always let them know that you're there to help them, you're there to support them, and you will do anything it takes to kind of get beyond these boundaries. What did you do with your depression?
The silver lining in my depression is that I became a seeker.
Okay.
Started seeking that there is something more to life than what we all already have and live with. That's the silver line. As the saying goes, sometimes you fall down to learn to get up and walk. So that was my silver line.
One thing everybody should understand is one does not need to live in that space forever. There is a way out of it. And it is possible to walk out of it and also not to fall back again.